I sat in my office on the 19th floor of Meridian 1, overlooking the sparkling skyline of Austin as the late morning sun bounced off the Colorado River. Across the street, employees filed into Stratus Logic's sleek tech campus, oblivious to the fact that the entire framework managing their internal systems, from access badges to real-time data sync, ran on code developed by the woman they once dismissed. Me. 6 years ago, I was just 24 and the youngest backend developer in Stratus Logic's innovation lab. "This is fantasy," scoffed Martin Galloway, the founder himself, lounging in his Italian leather chair as he flipped through my prototype deck. "You're saying this clustering model, built by someone barely out of college, can boost our process efficiency by 40%? I kept my voice steady. In controlled tests, it averaged a 67% optimization. It scales. He waved me off. "Amber, I'm not here for hackathon tricks. I need enterprise-ready solutions, not science fair projects." My team lead, Aaron Patel, tried to defend me. "But Martin, her code outperformed our legacy builds across every benchmark." "Legacy takes decades," he snapped. "Not weekends. Miss Dunn," he never once said my full name, "get back to assigned tasks or you won't have any." Humiliated, I left that meeting gripping my laptop, my heart in my throat. 2 weeks later, it got worse. Late one night, a notification pinged. My system access hadn't been revoked. Curious, I clicked. Buried in a folder titled Tech Futures, I saw my entire architecture, with Aaron Patel's name stamped across every page. They'd stolen it, but they never understood it. What they rolled out was a stripped version of my system, missing safeguards, overloaded dependencies, a slow burn disaster. I could have reported them. I could have sued, but I chose something better. I rebuilt everything under a new banner, refined and bulletproof. Today, Stratus Logic pays a premium for my updated licensing contract, just to keep their lights on, and they still don't know who owns the rights. Yet. But I chose something better. I walked out of Stratus Logic the next morning and spent the next 3 years buried in my own code. Investors dismissed me at first, thought I was just another failed startup story in the making. But then they saw the data. Arclight Systems was born. We began licensing the platform back to enterprise clients, ironically, including Stratus Logic. Today, every project they launch, every password reset, every system query flows through the very architecture they once called a science fair project. The difference? Now they pay for it, and I never had to argue. I just raised my standard. My resignation was clean. I cited personal goals, offered 2 weeks' notice, and walked out with nothing but my laptop and a patent quietly filed under my name. No one ever asked. No one ever thought the youngest engineer on staff might have protected her idea. The next few months were grueling. I moved into a shoebox apartment off South Lamar, lived on microwave burritos and too much coffee. I coded through weekends, holidays, even birthdays. But the core platform, now called Synapse Grid, kept evolving. What began as a simple efficiency tool grew into something far more complex, a dynamic, adaptive operating matrix that restructured enterprise communication in real time. Not just software, a digital command center for modern business. Then came the inflection point. At a private showcase in San Francisco, I met Elena Rivera, a venture strategist known for backing longshots with game-changing tech. She didn't glance at my slides and nod politely. She took notes, asked questions. "How does the Lattice network handle distributed load spikes?" she pressed. We talked until the janitors started shutting down the lights. When we stood to part ways, she shook my hand. "This is brilliant. Why hasn't anyone built this yet?" I smiled. They tried. Stratus Logic attempted a stripped-down clone last quarter. She paused. "Wait. That was you?" I nodded. "That was their version. This is mine." Elena laughed, a sharp, knowing laugh. That disaster wiped out half their innovation division. Do you have any idea how many corporations are now chasing exactly what you've built? I did. I was counting on it. 5 million for 22% equity, she said without missing a beat, plus full access to my enterprise network. 10 days later, ArcLight Systems was officially incorporated. With Elena's backing, everything accelerated. Her introductions brought us into rooms I never dreamed I'd enter. Within 2 months, we landed our first major account, a healthcare network desperate to unify their fractured systems. Within 5, we were fielding calls from half the Fortune 100. SynapseGrid performed flawlessly, kept my name away from the headlines, used only my middle name and my grandmother's maiden name, Lena Morgan, on all external documents and trademarks. As far as the world was concerned, SynapseGrid had been developed by a mysterious upstart, led by Lena Morgan. Stratus Logic never made the connection, and I never had to expose them. Their attempt to mimic my prototype had already cost them dearly. The rollout imploded under real-world stress. Clients walked, lawsuits followed, their reputation nosedived, their stock followed. Meanwhile, SynapseGrid set the new gold standard. Then, the email arrived. Subject: Strategic Collaboration Inquiry. Dear Miss Morgan, I represent Stratus Logic Inc., a global tech firm currently restructuring its enterprise infrastructure. We've been monitoring ArcLight Systems with great interest and would like to initiate a conversation regarding possible integration. Sincerely, Martin Galloway, CEO. I read it 3 times. Every word. Savored it. They weren't reaching out. They were pleading. Elena was the first to spot the name in our CRM. She called me the moment she saw it. Tell me you're taking the meeting, she said, grinning through the phone. Oh, I will, I replied, eyes fixed on the Stratus Logic building across the river, visible from my corner penthouse office in downtown Austin. But not just yet. Elena laughed. You're brutal. I love it. I let them sit in silence for 2 weeks. Their stock slipped another 12%. Analysts buzzed about internal turmoil. Martin gave vague interviews about long-term pivots. It was satisfying on a level I didn't know I needed. Then I responded. A brief, courteous email confirming I'd be open to a meeting. On my terms. They would come to me. The morning of the meeting, I hit the gym on the top floor of my building, pushing through every rep like it was erasing the memory of that boardroom dismissal. 6 years ago, I stood in Martin Galloway's office, being told my ideas were immature. Today, he was coming to me. Mrs. Morgan, my assistant called through the intercom. Mr. Galloway and his team have arrived. I slipped into a tailored navy suit. The jacket alone cost more than my first annual salary at Stratus Logic, and walked calmly toward the glass-paneled conference suite. Let the performance begin. He entered first. Same swagger, same perfect tailoring, but the eyes gave it away. His certainty had worn thin. Ms. Morgan, he said, reaching out. Appreciate your time. Behind them, Aaron Patel and 2 other faces I knew far too well. None of them blinked, not a flicker of recognition. It's incredible what 6 years, a different name, and visible success will do to perception. Please, I said, motioning to the seats. I took mine at the head, slowly, deliberately. Let them wait. Let them guess. Let's be direct, Galloway began, clasping his hands. We're in need of modernization. SynapseGrid's reputation precedes you. I nodded once. Then let's discuss what that's going to cost you. If you've been holding your breath with me through every line of code and quiet revenge, don't let go just yet. Hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens when the mask starts to slip and someone finally realizes who Lena Morgan really is. I lifted an eyebrow, voice cool. Is that so? Then tell me, Mr. Galloway, how well do you actually understand our system? He straightened, launching into a carefully rehearsed pitch stuffed with buzzwords. Predictive modeling, scalable architecture, cross-planar neural mapping. It was polished, but hollow, like he was reading a language he didn't truly speak. Aaron Patel nodded dutifully beside him, clearly the one who prepped him. Impressive vocabulary, I said smoothly when he finished. Although I couldn't help but notice you left out your company's last modernization effort. The temperature in the room dropped. Martine's smile twitched. That project was unfortunately mishandled. We were given poor recommendations. Erin stared hard at her notes, suddenly very invested in her stylus. Poor recommendations? I tapped my iPad and pulled up a document. You mean the rollout from 2 years ago? The one that lost you $30 million and collapsed after 29 days? Erin blinked. How did you— Enough, Martin snapped. He recalibrated his tone. That's why we're here now. We've learned. And SynapseGrid is the industry leader. I walked slowly to the window, the Austin skyline glittering beyond the glass. Across the river, the Stratus Logic Tower stood tall, still clinging to its past. Tell me something, I said without turning. What happened to the developer who built the system you tried to copy? The one whose work you buried? Silence. I'm not sure what you mean, Martin said stiffly, but his voice betrayed him. I turned, meeting his gaze head on. No? Let me jog your memory. A junior developer, female, presented a dynamic system you dismissed as immature. Ring any bells? Aaron's face went ghost white. Martin narrowed his eyes, staring at me now. Really staring. How do you— I smiled, returned to my seat, and tapped a button beneath the edge of my desk. The wall screen behind me flickered to life. Displayed in crisp clarity, the original SynapseGrid concept deck, my system diagrams, my annotated code, and at the top, in bold, Ember L. Done. Hello again, Mr. Galloway. Remember me? The immature junior developer you dismissed? Chaos. Erin dropped her stylus. One of the advisors cursed under his breath. Martin lurched up from his seat, face reddening with confusion and disbelief. This can't be real, he said, voice cracking. I calmly folded my hands on the table. No, Martin, this is real. And more than that, this is justice. You're not Lena Morgan, he stammered. That's my middle name, I replied smoothly, and my grandmother's maiden name. But you knew me as Amber Dunn. The developer you dismissed. The one you told to stop pretending she was building something real? We'll take legal action, Martin snapped, but even he could hear the desperation in his own voice. That system was developed under our employment. Incorrect, I said, cutting him off. SynapseGrid was fully patented before I ever pitched it to you. You never thought to check the filings, did you? I leaned in slightly, smiling. Oh, wait. Your systems are still too outdated to access records that far back. I rose from my seat, adjusted my blazer, and walked slowly to the end of the table. But that's not the reason you're here, is it? You're here because SynapseGrid now powers your competition, because your clients are migrating, and every quarter you stall, your relevance erodes. He clenched his jaw. Name your price. Price? I let out a quiet laugh. Mr. Galloway, you misunderstood. I'm not selling to you. I slid the folder across the table. I'm buying you. ArcLight Systems is initiating a hostile takeover of Stratus Logic. We've secured 42% of your voting shareholders. At your current valuation, we'll have the rest before the quarter closes. Martin's hands trembled as he flipped through the acquisition documents. His face went pale. This is revenge. No, I replied evenly. This is business. Your company is undervalued, bloated with legacy systems, and burdened by leadership stuck in the past. With the right technology, it can rise again. That's what we do at ArcLight. Acquire and rebuild. I let the moment hang, then added with a faint smile that the acquisition also happens to be poetic justice, just a bonus. The board won't approve this, he said weakly, grasping for something solid. And they already have. I tapped a control on the table. A screen illuminated behind me, displaying digital signatures, board votes, and a green-lit motion. You were the last to know. Erin sank into her seat, shoulders sagging. What happens to us? It depends, I said, settling back into my chair. Arclight retains talent, but we begin with a full review, especially of how senior staff handle innovation and respect new voices. Martine's eyes were hollow now. You can't do this. I stood, slowly. I already did. Security will escort you out. HR will follow up by end of day. I paused at the door. Oh. And Martin? I gave him the same faint smile he once gave me years ago. Your office has an amazing view. I think I'll keep it. The room emptied. My phone buzzed. Elena, I said, answering. How did it feel? She asked, breathless. I watched from my glass windows as Martin Galloway and his team were guided out of the lobby below. Better than I ever imagined, I said. And the stock? Up 12%, Elena replied. Wall Street loves the idea of Arclight reviving Stratus Logic. Good, I said. Schedule the press conference. It's time for Lena Morgan to step out of the shadows. You're really going public with everything? Elena asked. I turned away from the window, where the Texas Capitol dome shimmered in the afternoon light. Not everything, I said. This isn't about revenge. It's about evolution. About innovation, replacing inertia. About an idea once deemed too green, becoming the backbone of tomorrow. Exactly. The next morning, I stepped up to the podium with the Austin skyline at my back, announcing ArcLife Systems' acquisition of Stratus Logic Inc. I wore the same navy blazer I'd worn the day Martin Galloway dismissed me 6 years earlier. No one else noticed, but I did. Reporters pressed me about my past, about why I chose anonymity. I gave the prepared answers. Product over personality, let results speak for themselves. They didn't need to know about the instant ramen, the nights alone, or the voice in my head that sometimes agreed with Martine. Success drowns out doubt. A month later, Stratus Logic was fully absorbed into ArcLight. As promised, we evaluated everyone fairly. Some stayed, some flourished. Erin Patel now handles compliance, a filled, steady but risk-averse. She never understood the vision, only the structure. Martin Galloway? He retired. His old corner office? It's my backup workspace now. Symbolic, mostly. A quiet reminder that no vision is small in the right hands. On quiet nights, I still open the original Snaps grid proposal, the one they scoffed at. The old diagrams, my early logic threads. They don't remind me of rejection. They remind me why I started. Today, that same building still stands, but it bears the ArcLight Systems logo. Thousands log in daily to a platform built by a woman they once overlooked. And in the inner pocket of my old blazer, I keep a single folded page. My resignation letter from all those years ago. On the back, in faded, trembling handwriting. Remember this moment. It's not the end. And it wasn't the end. It was the beginning. If you've stayed with me through this story, thank you, not just for listening, but for seeing me. I used to think staying quiet was how you survived, that shrinking yourself down might earn you a place at someone else's table. But I've learned through every sleepless night and every closed door that you can't grow in places that refuse to let you shine. They called me naive, arrogant, inexperienced. But every rejection, every overlooked idea was shaping the version of me who would one day sit at the head of the table and own the building it stood in. If you've ever been underestimated, I want to hear your story. Drop a comment below. Share the moment they said you weren't ready and how you proved them wrong, or how you plan to. Because this isn't just my story. It's yours too.